Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to our presentation today. We're going to tell you an amazing story about a 24/7 accessible AED that saved a young life. We have just one disclosure. I am employed with Action First Aid. The objectives today are going to be learning why 24/7 AED access makes a big difference and is important, and what are the common obstacles and challenges and how to overcome them. Welcome to Ready, Set, Save. We are challenging the status quo by placing AEDs outside, and this presentation will show that outdoor AED access can save lives and is really, really important. My name is Katricia, and my focus is on helping communities place 24/7 accessible AEDs successfully outside so that they're always ready for rescue when they're needed. And I am honored to be joined by Christy Brindley. Christy and her family started the Just1Mike Foundation to honor their son, Michael, who was lost to sudden cardiac arrest. So we're challenging the status quo, and we are taking AEDs and placing them everywhere we live, work, and play, not just inside, but outside in locations wherever there are people. And we have placed over 1,000 AEDs in North America, and we're just getting started. We know that there are 3 pillars required to save more lives, and that's access, awareness, and education. Access to AEDs everywhere there's people, public access, open access for anybody to use, awareness so people know where the AEDs are, that they're for the public and they're not just for trained responders. And the crucial piece is education. People need to know, what is a cardiac arrest? What does it look like? And what do you do if you witness one? So we share the same mission as everybody in this room and at this conference. We want to prevent more unnecessary deaths from sudden cardiac arrest. And SaveStation is a high-quality line of indoor and outdoor cabinets that provide public access to life-saving AEDs wherever there are people. For outdoor placements, if there's power, then we can now place climate-controlled cabinets that have ventilation and heating in public places, and we can even have remote monitoring, so the AED is always going to be monitored. If something happens, if the cabinet's opened, if the AED is removed, if something happens to it, you're always going to know and be able to take action. And for places where there are no buildings but there are people, we can do them in a tower or on the side of a wall, and they light up at night and they're extremely visible and extremely accessible. And for places where there are people but no power, we can do options that protect the AEDs, but they might be more of a seasonal option depending on the location. So when we do outdoor placements, it's super important to understand the best practices and the key considerations to think about before we do anything. And so location and climate are important to understand and consider, so you can choose the best option for your placement to keep the AED ready for rescue. And then understanding if a seasonal or a year-round is going to be the best, which AED is appropriate, and if monitoring is going to be a good option for this placement. Funding strategies that we've employed are crowdfunding and sponsorship. So crowdfunding allows any group to raise money for an AED and a SaveStation and place it in their community. And sponsorship allows us to engage a local sponsor to take ownership and invest in the health and safety of their community by placing this life-saving device. And lastly, our commemorative program is something that we do to help people place AEDs in honor of a loved one. Without further ado, I am pleased to let Christy Brindley join me on stage and share her amazing story with you.
Thank you, Katricia, and thank you all for being here today. I'd like to start by sharing our son, Michael. These photos are of a happy, healthy 16-year-old rising high school junior. Michael was filled with love and kindness and affection. He never met a stranger, and he truly brought joy to all who knew him, especially those who love him. In June of 2016, we took Michael to summer camp. It was his 3rd time at camp, and he was looking forward to a magical summer, a place that he truly loved. And on the 4th day of camp, we received a phone call that while playing in a basketball game, our son had gone into sudden cardiac arrest. Because life-saving measures and an AED were not by his side in the first critical moments, we lost our boy that evening. Our son, Michael, loved life, loved his family, friends, animals, and he had a crazy passion and love for sports. When he was just 13, he started a blog called Just1Mike, and in 3 years, posted over 110 times. I want to read you just 2 sentences from his about paragraph that he redid just days before going to camp that summer. Michael wrote, "If I'm not on the court playing basketball, I'm at home watching, reading, or getting updates about sports. My life goal is to become a professional sports writer. This blog is the first step towards my ultimate goal." Some of you might remember the ESPN sports duo Mike and Mike, Mike Golick and Mike Greenberg. So our Michael went on to write, "There is no Golick or Greenie, just Brindley, just one Mike. The future of sports has arrived." And indeed, our children are our future. So we created the Just1Mike Foundation to honor our son's beautiful life in 2017. Our mission truly is to keep another family from suffering the loss and living without a beloved child. And we focus our work in 2 areas. We fund youth heart screenings where youth and young adults receive free ECG and echocardiogram testing to help diagnose underlying undetected heart conditions that put them at risk. For SCA, we also have an AED partnership donation and partnership and donation program. We started this in the suburban Chicago area where we lived for many years and raised our family. In 2018, a move brought us to Northern California. And in 2020, we made California our permanent home with a move to Sonoma. That was in May of 2020, so it was at the very beginning of the pandemic, and we were all spending a lot of time outside if we could. So my husband and I got to know our new community by doing a lot of walking and talking. And as we did that, we came across a huge construction project going on directly behind the local high school. We later found out that this was the beginning of a $15 million athletic sports complex that was underway. All new courts, all new fields. The community path that we walked on cuts right through the middle of this property. We walk daily down that path. And the property is flanked on 3 sides by residential neighborhoods. So as we traveled through, we had this little voice pop in our head. Gee, I wonder what the plan is for AEDs at this amazing new complex, or what would be that? And that little voice kept popping in our heads, and we decided that this might be a really meaningful way to bring our son Michael and the work of Just1Mike to our new community. So we had decided we'd like to gift a SaveStation 24/7 accessible tower to house a life-saving AED to this sports complex. Well, we met challenges right up front because we were brand new to the area. We knew all of 2 people. It was the beginning of COVID, so remote learning was in full swing. And we then found out that the administration had a lot of turnover going on within our district. So my initial attempts to break through and find someone to talk to about this gift really went nowhere. So the lack of response became a big challenge. That little voice did keep popping in our heads, though, and telling us to press on. I will admit that there were some extremely frustrating days when you're trying to give this kind of a gift and you're getting no response in doing so. But thankfully, one night, I can see you all nodding your heads, one night changed where this went. And luckily, one of the 2 people that we know in town sits on a board for the Education Foundation. They were holding COVID-style fundraising garden parties one evening, very small groups outdoors. and had invited me to come, my husband and I, to come and share our story and share our desire to give this gift. What changed the path of this was the incoming superintendent was at that particular party that night and gave us his full support in moving this forward. And the group of donors, so generous, not only donated to the AED Foundation, but they pledged an additional $12,000 to Just1Mike to allow us to grow our gift from 1 AED to 4. So I'll just give you a little snapshot of the timeline here. That's when we moved in and we came up with the idea of our gift. Up until February of 2021, I was trying on my own to break through and connect with somebody with no success. In February of 2021, I had an email introduction to an associate superintendent from board members. But that, however, produced a lot of crickets. So 6 months went by. Then we attended the garden party, and that's when this project really started to move forward. So only 2 months later, we had already picked the sites and the orders for the cabinets and the AEDs had been placed. This picture is one of the towers that went in. It's 24/7, fully accessible. It sits right off the walking path on this property, just steps from the basketball and pickleball courts. We put another tower just like this inside. It's an outdoor area, but inside the fenced-in fields where all the football, lacrosse, soccer, softball, etc. And we added a cabinet for an indoor second high school gym. They had only one at one end of the property, which wasn't enough to cover what they needed. So by March of 2022, we had 3 of the 4 installed. The 4th one came in January of 2023, and that was an aquatic center that was the second part of this development. And you can see the picture of that one here. So in May, the school administration put together a team. We started to talk about a dedication and ribbon cutting ceremony. I wanted to have it the very next week, but they wanted to wait through the summer and have it at 2 weeks after school had started in August. So the plans were underway, and we were targeting August 27th as our dedication and ribbon cutting. But on the night of June 15th, after dusk, 4 boys were playing basketball at the outdoor courts. One boy, 16 years old, went into cardiac arrest. You can see the tower in the first picture here is empty. The AED has been pulled. And the picture below that is a snapshot of our Sonoma County Sheriff's helicopter, which patrols the county, which actually is a very large area, happened to be in a neighboring community, heard the 911 call, came and landed on the basketball courts. So this young man was transported by air to the Trauma One Hospital, which would normally be a 45 or 50-minute drive, just in minutes that evening. And I am so thankful to share that his life was saved, in part by these 3 young men. These are our local heroes who were playing basketball with him: Mason, Toby, and Nate. And they executed the cardiac chain of survival to perfection. They're 18 and 19 years old. Mason started chest compressions, Toby called 911, and Nate ran for the AED, which again was just steps from the court. And they performed life-saving measures on their friend until the EMS group got there. Please meet Mikey. Mikey, just 16 years old, playing basketball, much like our Michael, 16 years old and playing basketball. Mikey is pictured here 2 months after his cardiac arrest. He's made a full recovery. He's now in college, and challenging the status quo indeed saved his young life. We did go on to have a day, the dedication and ribbon cutting ceremony, and it was an amazing day of gratitude because Mikey was with us. It was a day of education. Our fire department put on a clinic and instruction on hands-only CPR, how to use an AED, so that everybody left that day feeling empowered to recognize cardiac arrest and know how to respond. For our family, it was a very special day because we had a commemorative placement for our boy. We're continuing to challenge the status quo. We're a small family foundation, but since June of 2020, we have donated 31 AEDs. In our town of Sonoma, which is just 10,000 people, we have 7 fully installed outdoor SaveStation cabinets. We'll have 2 more by the end of December, so this town will be covered with 9. We've donated AEDs to other groups in Sonoma, Northern California, back in our hometown in Illinois, New York, and we're currently working on 3 more outdoor placements in a neighboring town of Petaluma, 1 in Pennsylvania, and 1 in Maine. So if I could leave you with a few thoughts, it would be, don't give up, stay persistent. There's a lot of roadblocks along the way. It feels like this kind of a life-saving gift should be so easy to give, and oftentimes it's not. But finding a local champion can really help change it when you find that one person that can help open doors. For us, the partnership with our local fire department has been amazing. They are fully fledged partners in this effort to continue to go up the valley with outdoor placements and other community partners. And finally, the ribbon cutting ceremony is really important. It's an amazing way to raise much needed awareness and educate your community. We continue to challenge the status quo. We do it for Michael, we do it for other children and all those who have lost their lives to cardiac arrest. We have to have these everywhere. So I'll close with, please keep listening to that little voice in your head. It saves lives. Thanks so much.